you have the pleasure of not knowing who this See You Next Tuesday is, I guarantee you will by the end of this video, and you're gonna agree with that descriptor. And I'll have plenty of examples why in this video, but let's start with the most recent breaking story that's making waves across the internet.
You know, they'll do anything. They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, they will do anything to control the narrative. And in fact, someone who is affiliated with the guy that assaulted me called into my office, actually two of my offices, my DC office and an office in South Carolina, yesterday morning, hours after I was physically accosted, making the threat that all these pro-tranny people online were going to organize against me. And that's what they did yesterday.
Because sitting Congresswoman and transphobe for the culture of it, Nancy MAce, is now threatening the media for reporting on a handshake she got from a trans activist that she claims was an assault. And I know that may sound confusing, so let's break it down real quick and show why she's a lying piece of human garbage, and then bask in the blissful Yuletide roasting of her ass by the internet writ large. Spoiler alert, no congresspeople were physically accosted in the making of this video, but if you don't like and subscribe, I can't make any promises. So Representative Nancy MAce on Tuesday said the Capitol Police arrested a man who had, quote, physically accosted her on Capitol grounds.
Congresswoman Nancy MAce. Capitol Police say 33-year-old James McIntyre is facing a charge of assaulting a government official. Earlier tonight, MAce posted on X that she was physically assaulted on Capitol grounds.
But whatever the truth, the South Carolina Republicans sure would be a lot happier if the media stopped reporting on it. Because there were a couple of immediately suspicious signs that Nancy MAce might have been hiding a penis. I mean, the truth about the whole incident.
So I was just looking through Republican Congresswoman Nancy MAce's tweets because she was just caught pulling this massive hoax. But I noticed this while she was tweeting and just lying over and over. She wrote this tweet first. Yes, I was physically accosted tonight. More to come. Hashtag hold the line. Then somebody asked her, oh no, what happened? And then she responded from her account, Nancy MAce, you see the verified logo, a pro-trans guy out of Illinois assaulted her. Did somebody forget to switch out of their burner account?
And in addition to that, despite Capitol Police arresting a man who quote-unquote physically assaulted her, people at a foster youth advocacy event who saw the interaction quickly disputed MAce's assault characterization, saying the man had simply greeted MAce with a handshake before asking her to rethink her positions on trans youth. And worth noting here, in recent weeks, MAce herself has employed incredibly anti-trans rhetoric to take aim at her soon-to-be colleague, Sarah McBride, who made history recently as the first openly trans person elected to Congress.
Earlier this year, MAce introduced a controversial bill that would ban transgender women from using women's restrooms.
The Capitol Police later identified the man MAce accused of the assault as James McIntyre, 33, a co-founder of the Illinois chapter of Foster Care Alumni of America, and his work advocating for foster youth has been lauded, and he was named the Public Citizen of the Year in 2019 by the National Association of Social Workers chapter in Illinois. And in her report, MAce accused McIntyre of taking, quote, her hand with both of his hands and shook her arm up and down in an exaggerated, aggressive handshaking motion. Absolutely terrifying stuff, folks, and hopefully Nancy MAce never has to interact with Donald Trump.
Not since this hot mess of a three-way has a handshake gotten so much attention, clocked at almost 19 seconds. This became the handshake that left the Japanese Prime Minister shaken.
But apparently others in the room contradicted Nancy MAce, describing the encounter as a normal discussion. Elliot Hinkle, a foster youth advocate and consultant on foster issues who was at the event, told the Washington Post that McIntyre had gone up to MAce as she was leaving the event, and that when McIntyre had stuck his hand out for a greeting, MAce reached hers out. Hinkle said McIntyre told her, trans youth are also foster youth and they need your support. Adding, quote, from what I saw, it was a normal handshake, an interaction that I would expect any legislator to expect from anyone as a constituent. McIntyre's arrest sends a chilling effect of you're not actually safe to go to the Capitol Hill and share an opinion that is true of you that isn't violent, because right now, if you do, a congressperson might say that they were physically assaulted and call the police on you, Hinkle said. So how would a young person in care feel safe? Now, McIntyre has pleaded not guilty to the assault charge, and you're damn right that he should. And the story is still developing, so we'll have to see where it goes from here. But that didn't stop the internet from having an absolute field day at Nancy Mace's expense. Here you have someone pointing out that 3 witnesses went on record that said what they saw was nothing more than a normal handshake in response to Nancy Mace saying she'd received horrific death threats and faced relentless verbal attacks. Gabe Sanchez from Midas Touch also pointing out the burner account incident. Someone saying 3 things are true with this pic. Nancy Mace is a notorious liar for attention. Violence is never an answer. How did she put those pants on with a sprained wrist? And some of my personal favorites. Nancy Mace after a car with a Pride bumper sticker honked at her. And then Nancy Mace arrives in Congress after her, quote, assault. And then here's one worth noting. Nancy Mace voted against the Social Security Fairness Act, which would have restored Social Security benefits for over 2.5 million retirees that have unfairly lost their benefits they paid into due to outdated laws. Retweet to let her constituents know she voted against Social Security. I just thought I'd throw that one in there. And finally, hey, remember that time Nancy Mace claimed Antifa graffitied her home, and then people pointed out that the graffiti was all in her handwriting, and then she just never mentioned it again? Seems like there's a pattern to old Nance's behavior. And as if all of that wasn't bad enough, here's just a few more examples of why this Nancy in particular, and potentially Nancy's writ large, should maybe be considered in the running for the new Karens.
So as far as dignity and respect go, I'm wondering, Congresswoman, how have you been treated after introducing this resolution?
A very interesting question. So the height of hypocrisy, the height of gaslighting, they're threatening to kill me now because I, as a woman, am standing up to protect other women from men being in our private spaces, our restrooms, bathrooms, locker rooms, changing rooms, you name it. And so now they're threatening to kill me over this. I'm being bullied online. But what they forget is that, Laura, I'm the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. I will not be bullied into silence. I will not back down. And in fact, I'm going to double down on this. And I'm going to file even more legislation to protect women beyond the Capitol, across every state in the nation. Because the simple question is, do women have rights or not?
Keep thinking they care about you. They don't. The lady who turned in Luigi, the un-CEOer, lost her McJob for being on the phone at work. Who was she on the phone with, you ask? Well, it would be 911. She also doesn't get the reward because she didn't call the FBI. So what's the McMoral of the story? I don't know, Nancy, but I can't even tell you to put the fries in the bag at this point. What a beautiful American folktale you've created here. How many times must it be shown that the American dream is literally just a nightmare? Like, what's not clicking, Steven? Didn't you also lose your McInsurance with this move, Nancy? I vote that we replace the name Karen with Nancy. Shout out to you, Nancy. The beautiful system was created so that you would need money, right? So you got that McJob. And they said, hey, we'll help you out if you help us get the person who got the man who stockpiled all this money. And then you reached for what they told you to get, and it got pulled away from you further, and they took your crumbs.